Most of the times we are lying to ourselves, and here's why. We have these two voices, and so it is the basic human nature that is pretty much gravitating towards voice 2, which is, hey man, you can stay in bed, hey man, you can sleep in, hey man, you don't have to get those things gone. Because this is human nature. We are just simply drawn toward those things which are easier, the path of least resistance, if you will. So also on the other hand, in this way we are teaching to ourselves that, hey man, the path that is harder, the path is, the more resistance, which requires more resistance, is we cannot do that, or we don't have the capacities, and so on and so forth. And so all these chatters and all these excuses, quote unquote excuses, are coming up. And so this is why it's super important to pursue the first voice, or the badass voice, as many times as we possibly can, because if we can break through our limitations inside of our brains, then we are just pretty much opening ourselves up towards, for us, being better. Because if we are always living in the same place, that, hey man, I can't do that thing, I can't lose that weight, you're always this can't, and you're just pretty much distancing yourself from all the capacities and all the capabilities that you have, then we are just simply setting limits to ourselves. And living a life that is limited is in my opinion, it is not a life that is worth living. Because guess what? Most of us, when we have a dream, we have the actual potential to fulfill that dream too. But what we have to do is we have to face the challenges, we have to face the uncomfortable situations. And so due to my experience in my life, all the greatest things came when I just simply put myself into a discomfortable situation, something that was new, something that is super uncomfortable. All of my biggest business lessons, my business successes, all of the best relationships that I've been blessed to encounter in my life came from me, just doing something that I didn't really feel at the time. And so this also teaches to me that we're really supposed to be shooting towards the first voice all the time. Although, and this is something that is super crucial to be mentioned, is that many times, at least this is what I experienced, I just fell victim for this push mindset, this push mentality, so much so that it almost like became like an escapism. So for example, I'm feeling bad, I have a problem. Instead of me facing the problem, I'm choosing the quote-unquote harder path. I'm coming out here running, and I'm pretty much like literally running from my problems, because I'm thinking that I'm doing something that is tough and something that is hard. But many times we just simply can fall into this trap again, that we are thinking that what is hard, which we are used to, can pretty much contemplate for all the things that we really have to encounter. So for example, your life sucks, and in one field. So for example, you suck, let's say, relationships, and instead of you trying to fix those relationships problem in your life, you're escaping into this, hey man, I'm doing the hard things anyways. So with that being said, we also have to be super cautious not to perceive this as, not allow something that is hard to become a new escapism. We shouldn't allow ourselves to escape from ourselves, but the goal would be to always face the problems, because the bigger the dragon we can slay every single time, the harder and the stronger we are becoming. And that's perhaps the highest philosophical idea, which I'm not reinventing the wheel over here, from all the big saints, all of the Stoics, up until Jordan B. Peterson. Everyone is talking about this thing, like take responsibility and slay bigger dragons and so on and so forth. But what I would like to call out here is that we shouldn't supposed to be falling victim into always pushing the harder path, because life is not linear. Because in life, many times, yes, we are pushing the limits all the time, but there are some days when you have to reflect. And this is something that I also learned on the hard way, because I had a very tough period when I was just like pushing, and I still do have the tendency for this. Like, I'm working through like this, and I'm feeling myself, and like I was working through like 2 weeks, and I'm just collapsing on Monday. I mean, like I'm just out of like, I'm sleeping 12 hours. I just simply cannot get out of bed. It's like I'm getting depressed, burned out, and everything at the same time. It's like you just simply need to fucking rest sometimes. And despite of how much you would like to take all the times this path of least resistance, some days the form of how we are taking that path of least resistance supposed to change, must change. And again, this is because life is not that linear. Again, we shouldn't supposed to be falling victim into this thing that, hey man, like I'm pursuing the harder path all the time and I'm good. It doesn't necessarily work like that, because again, for example with Nofap, like I really put it into the extremes, brothers. Like I had periods when I was not touching myself for a year, at least a year. I mean, like no, like freaking zero, like complete total monk mode. And so what happened is that obviously my body, was taking care of himself. But first, this is not healthy. You're a 20-something male. It's like fucking not healthy. Sorry for the language. And secondly, if you might be engaging with that thing, then it's like I was just pushing this part away from myself because I thought that, hey man, like I'm a Nofap and everything is all solved. No, you have problems every single day, and we have to engage to them actively. And this is the core idea here. It's like not to like find something that you fucking hate and just do that and escape to that thing. This is not the solution. So by the way, what happened with Nofap is that I'm still on that, but there are like about 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, I'm if I don't have a partner or something, I'm like, man, like your body needs this. You have to come up with some cycles. Also, I have some periods when I'm like, man, you have to go. Like this is a go season, and that is like a different thing. But you can't always be in go season because, or not necessarily that you can't always be in go season, but go season needs to also embrace something that is different, but can also be like push. But needs to change the dynamics because the life is not linear. This is what I wanted to explain over here, and I hope that I had at least some clue regarding to this topic. And if you can resonate this thing, then I would highly appreciate if you would leave your ideas down in the comment section. So love.